So Cindy, one of the most beautiful fashion models, fantastic artist. I mean, from your lovely oil paintings and your mosaics. And what's really cool is artwork, represents, femininity and just really great, high-spirited rock and roll. And Rich's background, clearly one of the biggest promoters in the history of, I think, even Pennsylvania.
The United States, actually.
Yeah.
No kidding.
There were, what, 12?
There's about, we were picked by Billboard magazine as the #3 promoter in the United States.
My God. So let's talk about it. Let's dive right in. Two inspiring entrepreneurs and artists, both coming from humble and normal, modest backgrounds.
With nothing. We didn't even have a car when we met. I mean, we literally grew up with nothing, and here we are.
Yeah, and a little town called Creighton, which the claim to fame is the PPG glass company there. And if my dad said, Rich, if you don't work at Pittsburgh Plate Glass Company, you ain't gonna be shit. So.
Right? Yes, that's how we were raised. I mean, I came from a blue collar background from Latrobe, raised in a single wide mobile home. My dad was a landscaper, my mom was a homemaker, and we had to be perseverant, resilient, true blue collar Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh kind of mentality, and work for everything we got. And so tell me though the story, because I love this. Tell us the story about how you guys met. It was late 60s, early 70s?
It was 1969. I was going to Art Institute, and I had a friend. Of course, I was trying to live on about $10 a week, which was pretty impossible.
Right.
So anytime anybody would invite me anywhere, I would go. So I met this girl, and her name was Claire Shapiro, and her family owned the National Record Marts, which was the big record stores. So she's driving around in the Lincoln Continental. She has a chef at home cooking. So I entered a different world. So I was with her one day. She said, did you ever hear of this band? They're called the Grains of Sand. I said, no. And she said, well, they live over on Summerley Street in Shadyside. You want to stop by? I said, sure. And so we stopped by, and she and I were in their beautiful living room, like old floral couch from the yard somebody threw out.
Oh, I love it.
The band was practicing downstairs, so we were just sitting there. I was reading The Village Voice. It's just like a movie. And Rich came up. The band was finished practicing. He had this great big, curly lamb coat on, and his hair was really long, and he had these big sideburns that came all the way down to here. My hair was down to my waist. I had this big blonde streak in the side. And he looked in the room, and he said, oh, hi, Claire. She said, hi. She said, this is Cindy. He said, oh, hi. I said, hi. And you can tell the rest.
Well, I was going to get a sandwich or something down at the little general store there, and I asked them, hey, you girls want anything? I'm going down to the store. I was praying that they would say no, because I had very little money.
Oh.
So they did say no. And then after that, my first thought was, hey, this girl is pretty cute. So
he likes my nose of all things. That's there's one
really
little no. It's natural.
So I called Claire maybe even the same day or the next day and said, hey, that's Cindy. I'd like to go out with her, and could you give me her number? So I don't know if she checked with Cindy first or whatever, and got back to me and gave me the number, and I called Cindy right away. I said, Cindy, this is Rich, who met me yesterday. Would you like to go out? And she stuttered a little bit, and she said,
I said, well, when?
She said, now. Right.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on the couch with my boyfriend.
Oh, shut up. Oh, you little minx. I love it. Hey,
so anyway, so we made a date to go out the next night. And so he picked me up, and we went up on Walnut Street, and I wasn't 21, so I couldn't get into any bars.
Yeah, and my band lived together. We thought we lived in San Francisco, because all the bands in California and San Francisco all lived together in a house. And
Okay.
that's what we did. And also, ironically, that same week that I met Cindy was the same week I decided to start my first company. So I started my first company on Walnut Street in Shadyside, right beside the old gazebo post office there. It was a Walnut Street address, which was the most important part of the thing.
Back then.
Right, exactly.
Because that was like Haight-Ashbury back then, where people just hung out and cars would go around in circles, circling the block. It was so different.
Oh God, the good old days.
It was different, yes. And so we really hit it off. And
I was living on Stanton Avenue in a third floor walk up, but there were a group of really cool guys that lived on the first floor. And they were always out on the porch with the American flag draped over when he would take me home, like at 1 a.m. And they'd be like, Cindy, we're partying, come in. So this is the honest truth. 2 weeks, 2 weeks from the day we met, he took me home. The guys are out there partying. He looked at me. He said, get your clothes. You're moving in with me. And I said, okay. So I moved in with him. We've been together 2 weeks from the day we met. And that was in 1969.
Wow.
And we're still sitting here. Look.
And then a few weeks later, I told the band that I'm moving out. You're on your own here, guys. We still have the band, but I've rented this office on Walnut Street, and I'm moving. They go, well, where are you going to live? I said, in the office, of course. So I built a partition across the center of the office.
Oh my God.
It was our apartment. It was as wide as a bed. We had a single bed. It was as wide as a bed is long. And it was about 12 feet long.
Yep.
And that's where we lived.
And then
it was wild.
After starting for about 2 or 3 months and jump starting this company with back then there were no internet, nothing other than mail.
Phones.
That's right.
And people got the word that I could book national talent. I was booking Fleetwood Mac and Foghat and a lot of these British attractions. I was the first one to bring David Bowie into the city, and many bands like that. But then I finally, from making no money, I started to roll in the money. Instead of making hundreds of dollars for these gigs, I started making thousands of dollars, and that's how it grew.
And guess what? We finally moved out of that, and we moved into another apartment, a basement apartment at Maryland and Howe in Shadyside. And our Rich's first purchase was
a yellow Bentley.
We bought a Bentley. We got married with this Bentley. It was so crazy.
I was able to buy a color TV. A color TV was first.
A double bed.
A double bed. I didn't carry a gun to shoot anybody, but I bought a gun, and then I bought the Bentley.
Oh my God, I love it. This is hysterical.
Couldn't pay. Yeah, and you know what? Back then, we had no worries. Like, I would have worried about how am I going to pay for this car. It was just like, hey, I'll just have to make more money. So and it wasn't about the money. Also, back then, you have to understand something. My generation had a movement.
That's right.
Spread the word, love, peace, and it's about the music. And give love. That was it. Yeah. Nothing about money.
That's right.
And
absolutely.
Everything changed.
Oh my God. I mean, that's amazing. And you're right. It was about a movement, and talk about, what a trend that was. And then from there, then came meeting and pairing with Pat DeCesare, and then came DeCesare-Engler. And then from there, I know you guys made a merger and purchased, the Stanley Theater at the time. And that is like that's the era that things just went from like, wow, this is going, like, this is cool, this is great, to holy crap.
It was just happening. It just happened.
It really
we were right in the middle of it, and it just happened.
Yeah, there were like 12 of us, big promoters across the United States. And the good news and the bad news, I was from Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh, nobody was going downtown at that time. You could shoot a cannon down Liberty Avenue or Penn Avenue and after 5 o'clock, and there was nothing. So purchasing the Stanley Theater was a major risk, and we had to put everything up. I had to put the car, the Bentley, everything.
The Bentley.
We had to sign our lives away, and so did the DeCesare-Englers to get by the Stanley Theater. We got a major debt service and payments. Our payment after we had all the employees and everything was somewhere between $60,000 to $90,000 a month. And
wow, that's a lot of money. And you got to remember the year too.
Again, I had the Novocaine of youth. That no fear.
Well said.
No fear. So take the step, make the gamble, and within the first year, turn a dying movie house into the #1 theater in the whole United States.
As
oh my God.
According to Billboard magazine and amusement business. Yeah. So and again, I wasn't looking to prove anything.
Yeah.
It's just my mission in life, I felt, was to spread the news, get the music, bring acts that nobody heard of or barely heard of that I liked, that I could share. And then
yes.
And then whenever we first started in 1973, it was only AM radio. So it was KQV. Yes. My shows and all the shows were brought to you by KQV, and Chuck Brinkman was it. And then all of a sudden, FM radio, it was a world of difference. FM radio was a life changer for everybody. You could now listen in stereo. And what is stereo? Oh, where it comes out 2 speakers. No. It's different. 2 different signals and 2 different things you're going to hear. I mean, it was revolutionary. And this brought people into more music and wanted to hear more things and listen to albums. And there was no MTV. And there was no other way to see these acts is live.
Yes. Yes, amen to that. Oh my God, that's. I mean, my God.
That's a long answer. I'm giving you a long answer.
No, it's the best answer, and it's the real answer. And my God, for everyone watching too, I mean, that was it, man. Like that was some of the best times. That's why I hate to say it, and everyone knows I'm a singer, I'm a musician. Rich, you're a drummer, and you had an ear for it. You understood. You could feel it. You're both artists, got a passion for it. Clearly then, exactly. You could recognize it and you could see it evolve.
Right. I wasn't guessing. I knew. That was the key. I know whenever I brought Eric Clapton out of nowhere, out of seclusion at Three Rivers Stadium, Eric Clapton and the band with Levon Helm and the whole crew, and Todd Rundgren and a couple other attractions at Three Rivers Stadium. People go, how did you know that this was going to be big? I go, I knew. It was just what I did. And I was blessed with that
innate skill and talent. Yes. I mean, it really is. I mean, your ear and that, just like you were saying, I mean, it's clearly an innate talent that you had that came early on. And I don't even know. I can't even imagine like how I mean, how do you know? Is it like just a feeling you got? Was it a vibe? Was it like, clearly it's not like you could be on the internet like today and watch like trends or people's numbers. There was no doing that back then. Like you couldn't say, oh, this artist is going to be big. They have X amount of followers. There wasn't Spotify. There wasn't Facebook. There wasn't any of that. So how did you know? Like what gave you that, I don't know, that vibe about somebody and to go all in and take that risk?
Well, it sure helped us being a musician for sure. And I graduated from high school in '64, and I was in a band. and I played a brass instrument, and somebody said that is the corniest instrument
Well,
in
this
the
is
world.
even before the Beatles were
Before
big.
the Beatles, and then the Beatles came out.
Oh
and
my
my
God.
whole life changed. I go, no, I'm a drummer. They go, do you drum? I said, and I never did. I was like Pinocchio. My nose was closed. I said, yes, I can drum. So,
Oh my God.
I was so entrenched and listening to all this music. That's all I would do every day, every night.
Yeah.
Listen to new tracks and I was really into the British movement. This was after the Beatles and Rolling Stones. Those were no brainers, and the Kinks.
Yes.
You know, all those attractions, but all those deeper acts of Spooky Tooth and the Straw, and you know, all these different acts that I did bring in and expose Pittsburgh to these acts. And then then you could do some research after a while. National Record Mark was a great phone call. So we'd call and we'd say, how many pieces are you selling on this new band? I don't think you just got some of our product, and they're called Genesis. How do you think that's going to do? And they go, well, that's pretty good. So what I did, I had Lou Reed coming into town. I put Genesis on as the opening act. I paid him $1,000.
Oh
and
my
then
God.
In a matter of a few years, headlined them at Three Rivers Stadium and did 60,000. Well, not 60, maybe 58,000 people.
Oh my God.
So you built attractions, you know, because you take them from a baby act, and just nurture them up through the lines. And I did them at the I did Genesis at the Syria Moss, Stanley Theater, and a Civic Arena, a Mellon Arena, and then to Three Rivers Stadium.
Wow. I mean, that is amazing. And what a great, method.
Yeah, you build an infrastructure of these new acts, and that doesn't happen much anymore. These big corporations, they just want to pick the ripe fruit on top and skim off the top and let other promoters take the risk on a lot of these other shows and then try to steal them later on. It's a real mess out there.
Yeah, it is.
And guys like Brian Drusky and several other people out there. Brian used to work for me, and he's a great guy. He does a great job of trying to hold on to these attractions and not let these other bigger corporations take them away.
Yes, he does. And I love that. The whole industry, and I mean, I can say that too and speak from it, you know, clearly also for being a singer and a performer. And it's such a shame what has happened to the industry as a whole. And in fact, you know, it's the show and it's the business, right? And so it's like you've got both, and both have been affected. So it is just so crazy. And that's what's so wonderful to hear about the way it used to be, and kind of live in those moments, you know, with you guys here for at least like a good 30 minutes, you know, to escape, you know, from the world we live in right now, musically and industry wise. And so speaking of that, and going right into this, so you have seen some of the most legendary people in the history of music. Talk to me about, like, and both of you too, because my gosh, you know, you were both in this together, and like, what were the moments that were either like magical, memorable, or I cannot believe that just happened?
The first time Rich had Bruce Springsteen in concert, he was traveling, I guess, by car with his record guy. And so they stopped in Pittsburgh, and you had them at the Syria Mosque. So after the show, we wanted to go have dinner. Bruce, his record guy, Rich, and me. So we lived in the North Hills at the time. So Rich called Carmassie's, which is was a restaurant in North Hills where Willie's is now.
On the way to Cleveland.
Yeah. So he said, Sonny Carmassie said, we're going to be closing, but we'll let you in, because we went there all the time.
Sure.
So we pull up, the four of us, we get out of the car, and Sonny came out. He opened the door and he came out, and he pulled Rich aside and he said, Rich, you and Cindy can come in, and the other guy, the record guy, can come in, but that guy, that scruffy guy, can't come in. And Rich said, why? And he said, well, look at him. He had on like a tank top and Jesus sandals. white jeans and Jesus sandals. So Rich said, look, you've got to let us in. He said, this guy's going to be huge. You're going to want to keep his placemat, his plates that he ate from, and silverware. And the guy said, yeah, come on in. So we went in.
You're a big BSer.
Yeah.
Oh my
so we didn't
God.
believe one well, but
we went in and ordered dinner, and we all ordered dinner, and Bruce ordered corn on the cob and apple pie for dinner.
And 2 weeks later, Bruce's picture was on the cover of Time magazine and Newsweek.
Oh, you just gave me
I
like,
know.
you just gave me chills.
We had a lot of interesting, I mean, we're friends with a lot of these people. They've been to our home. We've been on vacation with them.
Yeah.
You know, people are just people, really,
Right.
when you get down to the core of it. And I think they can see that we're not looking for anything. We're not looking like, well, to say, wow, I went to dinner with Bruce Springsteen.
Right.
And it's worked in our favor because we're just nice to them. And in fact, we went back to New York. This is what the story I thought Rich wanted me to tell. When Bruce was on Broadway, the last couple weeks that he was on Broadway, we went up, and of course, one of his entourage got us really good seats, and we paid for them. I mean, it wasn't free, but the show was fabulous. And right before the show was over, they sent someone over to our seat and said, Bruce wants to see you. When the show's over, go in door 9 over here. I'm like, oh, must be like a little party or something. So the show was over and everybody left, and Rich and I went over to this door 9, and they took us in. It was just the two of us in this room, like a little closet. I mean, tiny room, like 6 by 8.
Wow.
Here opens the door. Here comes Bruce. Hey, man. Hey, Rich. Hey, Cindy. Hey. And we just had a moment. I mean, maybe 5 minutes, but they brought us T-shirts in our size. Normally I get the extra large. They brought us T-shirt. I mean, it was just so. I
gave him a copy of my book, which there was many stories about him in there. All good stories.
Oh.
It's been a fun ride.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. What a great story. And speaking of all of those different memories and things that, Rich, that you ended up doing, and I don't know actually what year you started this, but from all of the various acts, you have this absolutely mesmerizing guitar collection and of these autographed guitars. I mean, talk about that for a second, if you don't mind.
Yes, indeed. Yes. And you know what? I don't consider myself a collector. I thought.
Well, you've seen it, so you know.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
So I one day, Cindy goes, you need to get those guitars out of the attic. That's not good up there for them. So I go up and pull the guitars down. And surprisingly, I had about 60 guitars packed away up there. I had no clue.
Wow.
And I said, hey, wow, maybe I should really accelerate this whole deal. So the next thing, now it's about 230 guitars and memorabilia.
Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what we have.
Great memorabilia. Tina Turner's took off her jacket, signed it.
Britney Spears T-shirt signed.
Yeah.
I mean, we have like.
And I have I was fortunate enough to get from the artist several gold and platinum records that they gave me, and it is amazing. Yeah.
Yes, it is. I mean, I'll be honest with you.
They're all autographed.
Yeah. I know. It is honestly just astonishing is what it is. Like I remember I stood down and, because I'm very lucky, like I said, my buds, and I come over for dinner, which that's a fun story. Like I think I just want to say this, like, I got to then really get to know you guys better because I was emceeing and performing at one of the charitable, like, rock and roll underground fashion shows, which clearly now we're coming full circle.
You had a gold wig on. Remember that?
I
gold
did.
outfit?
Oh my gosh. You remember, like, I had the astronaut costume, and then the guys,
awesome.
they carried me. Remember those, like, half naked men? They were carrying me out, and I came and I opened up. The theme was Studio 54. And they carried me out, and I started doing Bad Girls by Donna Summer. And then I did a number by the Rolling Stones, which is my favorite band. Like, I'm a huge Tina Turner and Elvis Presley and Mick Jagger idol. Like, I mean, that's what I learned to perform. And I will never forget, you know, chit chat a little bit more one-on-one and stuff that evening. And I come over to your house and have dinner. And I'll never forget it. Rich opens the door and I'm like, hi, I'm so excited to be here. It's going to be so much fun, you know? And Rich opens the door and he's like, hey. And I'm like, I haven't seen you since fashion show. How you been? He goes, you sang your ass off. And I was like, okay, that was now the coolest moment of my life. When Rich Engler tells you you can sing your ass off, I've done well. I've done well. And so I come over, we have this amazing dinner, which, you know, Cindy, as I said from the beginning, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously, hello, lady. I mean, gorgeous, breathtaking woman, stylish, great fashion sense and fashion background, you know, clearly a great artist, but also to every single chef in the United States, okay, you have some serious competition because this woman is crazy, crazy, crazy good. I mean, oh my gosh. So anyway, so I go downstairs eventually and you're like, oh, you know, Natalie, you need to see the guitars. And I'm like, okay. And I go down and like the lights come on and I'm like, it's like Dreamweaver. You know, I'm like, oh my God. They're there. And I was like a little kid in like Disney World. And I'm like, I mean, it is mesmerizing, amazing, breathtaking. My goodness, it is so cool. So great moments that you guys got to have. Is there like one moment that you can remember? Like, oh, I don't know. Is the show going to be able to go on? Like you can share like something crazy, wacky that happened.
I have too many of those.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, many times. One time I had Frank Zappa well, many times I produced Frank, and he was actually a very good friend.
But Rich made me be the limo driver to go meet Frank at the airport. That was a good story in itself.
Well,
wait a second. Are you serious? He made you the limo driver?
I've been that a couple times,
yeah.
Yes.
What I want to know, Cindy, did you have the hat?
I did, and it was a long time. I had little shorts, you know, like.
I knew it. I knew you wouldn't just be the driver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
We didn't have those nice cars for nothing. You know, I mean,
yeah, exactly. It was all part of the
They had a double for funerals and parades.
Oh my God, I love it.
I'm kind of kidding. But anyway, Frank Zappa in Allentown, somebody forgot to rent the stage. So they go, hey, we'll just use this other stage that we have. Here, I didn't realize it was a boxing rink for boxing and wrestling. And
oh, God.
They didn't tell me that they put that stage up. So when Frank got there in the afternoon for a sound check, he goes, hey, Rich, come up here on this stage. He goes, look, it gives. You know, like when they throw people down, you know, he goes, I'm not playing on this stage. I go, Frank, I don't know what to tell you. This is all they have. And it's Allentown, Pennsylvania. You know, I can't like poof, there's another stage.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
Goes, well, he says, blank this thing and get it out of here. I'm going to play on the floor. So Frank just played on the floor that night with his band.
Oh my God, that
awesome. That was actually that worked out really well. I had another show. Everybody thinks this was all fun and games, and it was, and it is, and it was a wonderful world that we lived in and went through, and still going through it.
Yes.
But I booked the Monsters of Rock, and that was the kiss of death because it was at Three Rivers Stadium. And parents, after I found out later on, parents told their kids, you can go see anything you want, but you're not going to see Monsters of Rock. It was the name that killed the event. You're not going to go to Monsters of Rock. So
really?
It was a great show. It was Van Halen was the headliner.
Yeah.
Metallica, Kingdom Come, Scorpions. It was a tremendous show.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lineup.
whenever you do, I'll give you a little education here. When you do a show at a stadium, the magic number most of the time is somewhere around 40,000 people, or they give or take how big the attraction is and how much production they bring and staging and all that stuff. So on this show, this very show at that time, I think it was 1980 or 82 or 83, somewhere around there. I needed 40,000 people to break even. So I go on sale.
Think about that.
Yeah, I know.
40,000 people to break even. Okay, so we're at around 32,000 people, and I call the bands. I go, you know what? This could be ugly. Could be real ugly for you guys, because I don't think we're going to do 40,000 people. It holds a lot of people. It may look bad. You guys want to bail out on this. And I thought for sure that they were going to bail out, and they go, no, we're coming. And I said, really? They go, yep. So anyway, I went through with the show and lost $400,000
in an afternoon.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh.
So because you know, I mean, we were a big company, but and the way the deals are structured anyway, and this is something that people will be very interested to know.
Yes.
The bands make a guarantee plus a percentage. There's no driving out with the promoter with a Brinks truck. Okay, you cannot do that. Never could. Back in the 70s, you could make a little bit more money, but the deal is structured like a typical big act deal would be like $4 million guarantee versus 95% of the gross after expenses and taxes, whichever is greater. So if that show of 40,000 people would have done 50,000 people, the guarantee goes away, and the bands would have made 90% of the gross after tax and expenses, which is a big number. And the promoter would only make 5%.
Wow.
Yeah, 5%. Wow. And back then it was probably 10% or 15%. It was an 85-15 split at that time. So the good news with this, with our business back then, does not exist anymore of friendships. It's all and relationships. I was able to call Ed Lefter, bless his soul, he had passed away. He was Van Halen's manager. I said, Ed, we got killed. I lost $400,000. He goes, oh, I knew it was going to be big, but I never thought it was going to be that big. He said, what if we send you $75,000 back? And I go, oh, wow.
Wow. Wow.
And, yes, and they did. So now I get the check. There's $75,000. So I made a copy of the check, and now I send it to the Scorpions manager. I go, look, Van Halen gave me $75,000. What can you help? Can you help the cause here? Please, please, please. I was begging like, for my life, because this blow could have really put us out of business. It was
That's right.
bad. And it ended up that we could only keep the company open for a year if things didn't get better, by not taking any payroll for myself or Pat DeCesare and paying all the employees, because we had a lot of employees back then. So the good news, well, anyway, I got money from the Scorpions and I got money from Metallica, and it cushioned the blow to about 275. But the good news, a few years later, the biggest year of my life, Genesis
at the
stadium, Rolling Stones at the stadium, The Who at the stadium, Guns N' Roses at the stadium. So it was it was a big one.
So we made it.
Right?
That put us back on the map. Put us back on the map.
Thank God. And wow. And how blessed, like you were saying, to have had those, like you had back in those days, the great relationships that were at least able to help soften such a huge blow.
Let me tell you what happens now. If you would buy something like that or do something like that and take the risk, and everything's a risk that you have to do. Every show that we ever had was always a risk of some sort.
That's right.
the agent would say, or the manager would say, well, you were stupid. You should have never bought it. Too bad. And you're stuck.
You're right.
That
Yes.
nobody's going to give you a benefit or give you money back anymore. That's all over. They say, you know, somebody else would have bought it. And you know what? They're right, because there's always some dunce in the background that would do something crazy. And so that's how it is.
God, yeah, and I tell you what, the great moments that you have captured, even in different photos and everything, I want to say people can read and catch up and get some more insight on all of this with the book. You're also an author, Rich. You came out with your book 2013 or 14?
13.
13. Okay, and now you're also, I mean, that's behind the stage door. There's something new in the works. A couple new things in the works. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Book number 2 is potentially going to come out for the holidays. You would think during this pandemic, what a great time to write. But I don't get depressed, but I also got lazy because now I'm not dealing with the agents hardly anymore, although I'm trying to for 2021. But they still don't know, and they're afraid to book a tour and book attractions, think they're going to have to change it again. So they want to be sure. So there's a little hesitation there. So book number 2, I don't know what it's going to be called, but it's probably more of the same because people love the stories. The bad news, most of those fans and those stories were taking drugs and doing wilder things. Now they're taking blood pressure medicine and acid reflux medicine and going to bed and doing earlier shows, and they're in bed by 11 o'clock.
Listen, I mean, I'm not even up there with them yet, and I've been in bed the last week like 3 times by 8:30. The sun is still shining, and like I'm in bed like old Aunt Katie over here, you know. So
we try to make it till 9:30 or 10.
Well, as Bob Dylan would say, these times are changing.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God.
Yes.
So that's so great.
So some humbling news. After writing the book in 13 and it being such a big seller, somebody got a hold of it, a national company, a documentary company, and called me and said, hey, we would like to make a movie possibly of the book, but first of all, we'd love to do a documentary on your life and Cindy. And I said, is this for real? And they go, it's for real. When can we start shooting? And they started shooting, and they've been shooting for the last year or so. And they've done a lot of interviews, a lot of attractions in the documentary that talk, and some managers and producers and so on. And I just can't wait for it to come out. I'd love to see it. They
teased us. They just sent us a few little pieces.
We have a trailer. It's called a sizzle reel. That's what they send to Netflix and to HBO and all these different places to try to sell it. So that does exist. We were able to watch that, and we're happy with the quality, and everything is great.
Wow.
We're excited about that. So
hell yeah, that is so cool. And so well deserved, though. I mean, honestly, for both of you. And it's so funny because I didn't know about that until we sat down and talked about doing this. And first and foremost, I cannot wait to get a sneak peek at that sizzle reel on my own. But
I think maybe we will share that with you.
Yes,
one good thing about the documentary too, that the good news, I think I'm from Pittsburgh. The bad news is I'm from Pittsburgh. If I would have been from New York or LA, it probably would get more acclaim. But I was the last producer of Bob Marley, of his last performance, And
Oh,
we had a great history together, and I spent time with Bob on that last day.
oh
Did-
my God. I
Yeah.
can't even
So-
imagine. Like,
So that's going to be a big segment of the documentary. I know that. So
oh, absolutely. I mean, what was that like? I mean, he didn't share that,
Well,
right,
he-
with
That's one of
anybody?
the stories where he
Yeah.
almost didn't show.
yeah, that was one of the stories.
Yeah.
He collapsed the day before in Central Park, like out hospital, the whole deal.
Oh my God.
Rita said he's going nowhere. We're not going to Pittsburgh. Cancel Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And the agent called me and said, "Rich," we go. He goes, "We have a problem. Bob is not feeling well." He did not tell me he collapsed in Central Park. He did not tell me he was at the hospital. He said, and Rita doesn't want him to come. I said, "Well, is this final?" He goes, "No, not yet." He goes, "I'm going to try to talk to Bob myself." So he somehow talks to Bob, and Bob said, "I'm going." He said, "We're going to Pittsburgh." So
Wow.
I said, "Hey, all right." I said, "When he comes, I'll try to make him as comfortable as possible, talk with him. And I don't want to give it all away, but that he put on one unbelievable performance.
Wow. What a beautiful soul that man was. huh?
Knowing that it was his last. But nobody knew it was his last. Not even the band, not even Rita, nobody other than him.
Jeez. Like God, you're gonna make me cry. Like, I can't even believe that. Like, I mean, I can't imagine what that would have, I mean, what he must have been thinking. You know what I mean? And wow. Well, that's so lovely that you were able to share that moment, you know, and, you know, one of many, but what a really rememberable one, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said, such a cool soul, such a cool soul. You know, and we mentioned like Pittsburgh, you know, blessing and curses. God knows I understand where you're coming from with that, you know, again, entertainment industry. And I left and did, you know, my own thing for a little while and ended up coming back about 11 years ago. And I stayed on the business end, you know, of everything up until just a year and a half ago, getting back into it. And, you know, doing this show, I got to really fall in love with, you know, people like you guys and music again. It got me actually wanting to go back after my passions and dreams and whatnot. And so I've got to go back out and really experience the city, right? And be out there and amongst everything. And of course, pre-pandemic. But what are some of your favorite things and places or whatnot to do around town?
We eat a lot. We used to.
Me too.
Our favorite restaurant in Pittsburgh is Dish on the
Yes.
south side.
Oh, yes. Oh my God.
We were
Mine
devastated when
and
they
Andrea.
closed for a few months, but
Yes.
Yeah.
we like to go hiking. You know, I practice a lot of yoga. Rich goes fly fishing,
Yeah.
golfing.
Yeah. We walk every day.
Yeah.
3 to 5 miles, and it's I mean, we embrace Pittsburgh. I mean, we love Pittsburgh. So that story I said, well, I'm from Pittsburgh and it's a good bad, I made it here. This is
We have
this is our home.
That's right. So all the things, you know, you guys love to do around the city. I love Dish as well. Dish is actually my favorite restaurant in the city of Pittsburgh, and has been since the day I moved here. I love it. I love it. It's fantastic. And, you know, so all the things that I talk about with all the guests that I've been honored to have on so far, from our buddy Joe Grishecki to Sally Wiggin, Andrew Stocky, everyone, I always say, what do you think it is about Pittsburgh that just makes it so special?
I think everybody's real.
The
most
people.
Most everybody.
The people. The people. And you can tell some of the newcomers, they're not as friendly, but I think they're starting to come around. And but for the real Pittsburghers that are here are just like, they're very helpful and easy to talk to, and just it's that warm. It's a warm feeling. It's not that, and nothing wrong with New York. We love going there, but you know, it's not like New York. You know, it's a small big city.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I always say. It's a small town city, and it's people with such big hearts, and they will help you. People really help with their neighbors here, per se, you know. And I fell in love with it the way that Carrie Bradshaw loves New York, and you know, that's what inspired me to want to do the show, and then to get to like meet like people like you guys. And you know, clearly right now, like, we're in such like a crazy world and environment, you know, pandemic, and you know, just the whole world in a little bit of a different place these days, let's just be honest. And so we could all use some inspiration and some pick-me-up. So Rich, you've always said, Cindy, is you can't be afraid to put yourself out there, take risks, and just be the best that you can at something. And I really love that. Give us a little bit more on what, you know, really where that stems from and why you think it's so valuable.
Well, first of all, anybody that's thinking of a career, and if you didn't grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth, you hopefully learned what you don't want to do. And
that's right.
once,
like, he didn't want to work at Pittsburgh Plate Glass.
Yeah, and I didn't want to work at this place, and I didn't want to do the furniture and all. I had to carry furniture, and I worked at the car wash, and all these different jobs that I had, from high school to even through a little bit of college. I knew what I didn't want to do. I had a burning desire to succeed in the music business, and that is number one. You have to have the burning desire to succeed and be the best that you can be at what you're doing. I don't care if you're, and I always told our kids, if you wanted to be a janitor, okay, but at the end of the day, own a janitorial business and have people work for you and be the best janitorial business, cleaning business in Pittsburgh or wherever you might be. So no matter what it is, just be the best at what there is out there, and try to be as educated as you can on what you think you like, and go after it. You touched upon what I said before. You have to take a risk. So many people want to stay in the comfort zone and make a salary, and nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, you know, it's the 98.2% theory. 98% are the bees, and the 2% are the entrepreneurs and the doers. If you want to be in that 2%, there's a special risk that you have to take, and it's not necessarily money, it's mental. So you have to be able to leave that thing that's over you and break through there, because there's big ideas out there. There's millions and billions of dollars to be made. Aside, I never worked a day in my life because I loved what I did. So that's the great part. I cried a few times, but that's part of it. That's part of it. Yes. So, and you have to, when you go for this, you have to go big and go hard. And with this passion, it's like going on a double black diamond ski slope. You got to turn the skis down and go for it. And that's pretty much my speech in a short version of for young people and you can do it. It's right here. You can do it.
That's right.
This is the only thing that's stopping them, the brain.
100% spot on and well said. And I say that so much, you know, I mean, you've got to be able to put yourself out there. You've got to climb out of your comfort zone in order to grow. And that's why God put us here to begin with. You know, you got to fall, and it's not how many times you fall or how hard you fall. It's how you get back up, be perseverant, you know, and be able to dust yourself off and keep this in the game, keep it positive, and keep moving forward and go after.
Learn from your mistakes.
That's right. Exactly.
Because everybody makes mistakes. Whenever they invented the telephone, there were 2,000 times that he did not to invent the telephone, and then finally there it was.
That's right. And where would we be without that? That's so well said, you guys. Something else too, I mentioned at the very beginning and coming back full circle. I mean, you guys are role models, you know, I mean, your relationship is so amazing, you know, both, you know, on the stage and behind the stage. And do you guys have any advice for couples out there, or someone who's not even a couple yet, but for when you get into one, what makes it last? How do you keep it going from living together since 2 weeks into it to how many years now are we married?
We've been married now 47 years, and we've been together because we lived together for 3 years before we got married. So
yeah.
And
oh my gosh,
I mean, for the last we're together. It's basically 24/7. We're together. First of all, I think you have to like. Yeah. I think we really respect each other. We respect each other's opinions. Some of us are a little more opinionated than others.
What?
Nah.
But, you know, we just enjoy being together. People can't believe it. They're like, you guys, you're always out walking. We see you walking all the time with your dog. You're always like doing something. We're each other's best friend.
And I can't do any better.
No, you can't.
My happiest day of my life. Ask me what my happiest day of my life is.
What was your happiest day of your life?
The day she said I do.
Usually he cries when he says that.
Oh, no, you're making me cry. And to know you, I know, but it's so real. Like, that's what I love. You guys are so real. And your love and the beauty of your relationship is so real. And I'm going to get emotional. So you have to just bear with me. Thank you. You know, thank you for becoming dear friends and mentors. You've been one of the absolute highlights of me moving back here to Pittsburgh and getting back at doing all of this. And just also thanks for everything that you've done, you know, for the city. You represent, in the full scope of life, you represent, I just think, what is so beautiful about life. And that is being and having success in love and relationships, and then turning that just absolute passion into something that you both have just evolved and grown from. And your business then clearly was a part of that in full scope of your life. And just look up to you guys so much on every level. And, you know, thank you for all the entertaining memories too. I mean, the best way to describe Rich and Cindy Engler, they rock. Oh, well, I mean every word of it, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. I love you guys to death, and this has been so much fun for being a part of the show and my Pittsburgh Strong edition, you know, at-home version, and thank you for everything again. As I always say, have a fun and safe weekend, Pittsburgh. So I thank you guys so much. I love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
And keep on rocking.
Yeah, baby. Big virtual hug. Yes. Oh, I love it. I'll see you.